54% of voters say the cost of groceries is a problem. How will you address this?
Well, let's talk about that, okay? If you recognize this fact, the reason what we call inflation, the cost of groceries up, is because the establishment plays this very, very funny game by printing money when they need it. And the printing of money actually causes inflation. Why does the establishment print money? So we have to go to the why to understand the solution. The reason they print money is because both wings of the establishment, again, let's remind everyone, Donald Trump in one term, a Republican, printed $8 trillion, a massive deficit. Obama, a Democrat, in two terms printed $8 trillion. So if you just lay it side by side, let's be very clear that both wings of the establishment will print money. And why did they print it? To save their guys on Wall Street. Obama printed it to save big banks in 2008, and Trump printed it not because of COVID, it's because the pharmaceutical companies were tanking. As anyone knows who's actually studied it, as someone who's a biological engineer, for the last 30 years, pharmaceutical companies have been going down in revenue because their entire pharmaceutical development process sucks. It doesn't work. So they needed a pandemic. They needed a quote unquote a vaccine to save them. And that's why Trump was brought in. So he printed money fundamentally to save big pharma, like Obama printed money to save big banks. Now, why can they print money? The reason they can print money is because the US is a reserve currency. Stephanie Kelton, one of the theorists of what's called the modern monetary theory, actually says it's fine to print money as long as you can quote unquote control inflation. And the US can print money as long as it's a reserve currency. How does the US maintain its reserve currency status? With the might of the US military becoming the imperial force, which is a policeman of the world. So the US must be able to be reserve currency, which means they must be able to subjugate other countries to ensure that the US is a reserve currency. And with the reserve currency status, they can print as much money as they want. Allowing the government on behalf of the elites to print money means who suffers is the working people. And that's why you see all the interest rates going up and the cost of goods going up. Now, where we are entering into the cycle of printing money and causing this devastation on working people, it doesn't really affect the elites, right? The 0.1%, the Elon Musk's, case in point, the guy, 600 billionaires during the last 4 years, particularly during the pandemic, increased their wealth by $2.3 trillion. So that doesn't affect them if the price of groceries goes up by 50 cents for this or that or dollar, right? But it does affect working people. And the only solution to this is something very, very simple. You have to create a real economy, a true market economy that is not based on printing money and the might of the military industrial academic complex. Well, how do you create a healthy economy? Well, you have to unleash innovation. You have to make sure that there's broad access to infrastructure and education for all people, not only to those people sitting on the debate stage right now who get to go to Harvard and Yale and places like that, as mama and papa got them in, okay? Robert Kennedy's papa got him into Harvard. He wouldn't have been able to get in there based on his grades. And all of these guys. So the bottom line is that the amount of money we spend on the military industrial complex to create reserve currency status, if you took a fraction of that and you stopped doing that and you put it back into infrastructure, you would have a very, very different economic model because more people would have the opportunities to innovate, start small business, and be entrepreneurs. And that's how you create a real vibrant economy. But that's not what they want to do. And the reason they don't want to do that is because they're all part of the swarm, Democrats and Republicans. They do not represent us. They're not one of us. Now, me being one of us, I'm going to make some very, very hard decisions to ensure that working people get what they deserve. We should stop funding any of these activities in the Middle East. There's no reason to fund Israel. There's no reason to support a Middle East war base. This is what Iraq has become, right? So we pummel lots and lots of money to supporting these wars to subjugate other countries so we don't take care of our own country at home. And that's where it begins. This is why we need a systems overhaul because things are not going to get better. We cannot be voting for the lesser of two evils. For the first time in American history in a long time, you have someone like me, one of us, trained engineer, trained scientist, mowed lawn, played baseball, came bottoms up, one of you. Why is it that I had to leave the Republican Party and run as independent? And obviously, a guy of my skin tone should have been embraced by the Democrats, but neither of these parties serve any of us anymore. So it's time for us to build a bottoms-up movement, and that's what Shiva for President's about. It's about us. It's about you and me uniting bottoms up and letting go of these idiots. Many of you know we have this movement called Truth, Freedom, Health. You can go to truthfreedomhealth.com and check it out. We need to build a bottoms-up movement. We need to shatter the swarm. The swarm are all those people on the debate stage, Republican and Democrat, black, brown, red, white, color, it doesn't matter. They're a multi-racial, global, decentralized bunch of assholes that do not give a fuck about you. What can you do? Well, go to Shiva for President. Many of you work hard, so we made it easy. Go get a bumper sticker. Get this bumper sticker, put it on the back windshield of your car. Why? 100,000 people will see that. That will be defiance because you're telling them, fuck off. I no longer believe in your lesser of two evils. I'm supporting a guy who's one of us. If you're a little more adventurous, go on to Shiva for President, download one of these flyers, hand them to your neighbors. It's in the download section. If you want to donate, great, but I cannot take your money without giving something back. When you donate to me, I give you books, I give you knowledge, I give you courses so you can become a truth, freedom, and health warrior. This is about us, and it is truly us versus them. And they do not want you living long and prosperous. I do. So anyway, everyone, thank you. ShivaForPresident.com. Truth, freedom, health to all of you. By the way, we need to get on the ballot in every state. Go to ShivaForPresident.com. Volunteer, volunteer, volunteer. This is our time. It is us versus them, and we must shatter the swarm. Be well, be the light. ShivaForPresident.com.